Welcome to the Blue Garage, guys. I'm Greg. We got a bunch of projects lined up for the ZR2. Specifically today, we're working on that suspension, so big changes happening. We're throwing the Peak Summit kit on the truck along with the tie rod sleeve and the 3/4 inch bumper spacer to add room for something much bigger here in the future. So with all that said, all we gotta do is get started. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull my truck out. I'm gonna take measurements of the stock ride height, show you guys the change before and after with this whole kit. So got the keys, let's move the truck. So as I get these ride heights, guys, or the height of the vehicle, bumper, wheel well, all the way through, I'm gonna annotate them in my phone, write them on my whiteboard, and at the end, we'll just compare with the new suspension. And we'll record that, I'll get them on the board, and we'll get started. Get this open. Feels like Christmas. Where do I start? There's toys everywhere. So what we got here is a rear shock and a front shock. I think what I'm most excited for is to hold up the rear shock from the stock setup to the new rear shock, and also actually the whole kit, front and back, just to compare. But holy heck, substantial is probably the best way to explain this product. Just like the attention to detail, the quality, wow, it looks good, guys. Got our U-joints, I'll just keep those wrapped up for now till we get to the rear of the truck. Sheesh. Again, substantial. This is like unreal. Better than expected. And that's not a knock on the company. That's just one thing seeing it on video, one thing seeing it on other people's trucks, but holding it yourself and putting on your own truck is definitely surreal. So this is all happening really fast. We went on our Ocotillo runs while we were out there. A lot of lessons learned. Nothing bad happened. However, I was like, you know what? I gotta step up my off-roading game. I think this is the first step. So we're gonna get these installed. We have our rear block as well. I'll go into detail about all of the products once we get it all unboxed. This way. Woo! Put that on right away. Peak. That's pretty sweet, guys. Everybody out in Peak for sending this out. I'll have to get it situated and formed up for me. Substantial again. The difference between the stock upper control arms and Peak's upper control arms, man, night and day, no comparison. So we have our upper control arms. I mean, again, these things are beefy, just solid, dense. These things are awesome. So this will take a beating compared to what we have on the stock Silverado, which to me is paper thin in comparison. Spacers for our front bumper. We're going to be removing the front bumper today and popping 3/4 inch spacers on there to add some extra room for, again, something bigger to come in a future video. Set these aside. Got our sway bar spacers as well to relocate the sway bar. Hardware, I should say, for the upper control arm. Tie rod sleeve to protect the tie rod while you're off-roading as well. But first, I got to get changed, and I have one more box to open. All right, now that I've done the wardrobe change, one more box to open. That should be our other side for our suspension. Staple's gonna get me. The size difference, I can't wait to hold them up side by side. It's just night and day difference. Double check the other boxes, make sure I ain't forgetting anything, but should be good to go. Obviously we have our other coilover here with the remote reservoir, and then also in this box we have our brackets to mount the cooling reservoir. Pretty sweet. It's gonna sit right inside, mounting it to the frame, one for either side. All right, these are some more mounting brackets for our remote reservoirs. Now we just gotta lift up the truck, put it on jacks, take off the old, put on the new. So let's get going. You can take these off with an impact drill, however, do not put them back on with the impact drill. You will strip these. Of course, that one's a little too high, so I can. I'm gonna need a socket for this one. Yep, socket for that one. We're gonna remove the sensors and tuck these lines out of the way. All right, now that we have that off, we can disassemble our joint here from our upper control arm and our sway bar. 18mm socket for this. Just be careful that you don't break your actual gasket there. So nice and easy, making sure you're not prying at the wrong spots. Right, now we're gonna separate these two, pulling the upper control arm out of the way. And now we're gonna separate our tie rod. Should be another 18mm socket here. There we go. That is out. No damage done, thank God. It's always scary with those boots. All right. Now that we are here, I can do two things. First thing I think I'm gonna do is put my spacer up here for my sway bar. Just taking a look and seeing where we would go. And next, I can get underneath the actual lower control arm and remove those 3 bolts at the bottom of the shock itself. And 18. All right, we're gonna take an 18mm socket for the top of our strut tower. It helps if you have a flexible socket set. Gonna lower the jack. That's good.
Just magically came out.
Yeah. You got both sets, old and new, here. Out with the old Multimatic DSSV stock ZR2 setup, in with the new, the Summit kit from Peak Suspension. So, I mean, if you look at it for yourselves, pretty substantial, bigger eye-box spring than what we have over here. Going to give you a little bit of a smoother ride for both on and off-road guys. All right, now we're going to take off our upper control arms. 21mm socket. Same thing on the opposite side. All right, so just getting this last bolt free. Obviously, I need better tools, but it is loose, just long-winded. Get it off, there we go. And once that is out, we can get the upper control arm itself out. Time to cut that guy. Now I'm gonna use a Sawzall here to cut the droop stop off. What that is basically a bump stop from the old upper control arm so they didn't droop down below that. Now we're not worried about that. I am gonna cut this off. Now we're gonna paint it up with some Rust-Oleum, making sure that it's sealed up properly and we're not gonna have any issues with rusting. Just that little piece, guys. Wear eye protection. I'm using Rust-Oleum paint and primer. This is a gloss finish. Couldn't find the matte finish where I was at. It's not really gonna be that glossy on the underbody. It's always gonna be dirty anyway, but fast drying, indoor, outdoor, made for woods, metals, and more. So definitely recommend doing this to protect your frame. Okay guys, now I'm gonna come underneath here to the sway bar brackets right here, and I actually need a 10mm socket. Okay, 10mm to get this bolt off. Cool. Got some replacement bolts. They are 15mm, but we gotta get our bracket up there. Looks like this. It says peak on both sides. Here, first thing you gotta do is technically remove the sway bar. I'm gonna pull it to the side while I do this. That way I can fasten the bracket where it needs to go. Finding right through there. There's deeper holes in the bracket. It's just a matter of getting this in. Be a whole lot easier if I just remove the sway bar altogether to do this. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get that side. Now that we have a little bit of wiggle room, it's not all the way out. I'm holding it in. That way I can knock out this side. Oh, we gotta be flexible to get out of here. There we go. And I'm actually gonna get that side before I get this side. Might as well. Yep, I'm gonna come around. What a game changer. Pop this bad boy back on. Cool. Sway bar adapter installed. There you go. No, get in there. Okay. Now you can get out of there. All right, as you guys can see here, it says driver's side right on the front. So first thing we want to do here is we want to prep the actual grease fitting, I should say. So we got them right here. All right, so the grease fitting goes on underneath. one on either side. Before you actually screw them into place, get a little bit of silicone, put a small little bead on there. Screw it into place. 10mm wrench for that. One side. Make sure they're pointing out away from the engine bay. They're ready to go. As far as grease fittings, we do have 4 washers, 2 for either side. So let me get the 2 that we need for the driver's side. We're ready to rock. Make sure I have everything I need. All right, now we're gonna install our upper control arms, slide them into place, align them up as best as possible. Might need to maneuver them around just to get the bolt through. There we go, that's pretty easy. And same on the other side. Then we take our supplied washers, 1 on either side. Remember, that is a 21mm socket on the inside, so we are going to hold that in place while I find my other bolts, which are right here. Just gonna hand tighten for now until I get my wrench. Now just holding the outside bolt in place, I'm gonna tighten. There we go. Now we can slide this up out of the way, just like that, and we'll get it ready to mount again as normal after we throw the new shock in there. All right, so now in order to make room for something bigger, and now that we're waiting till Monday, today is Sunday, we had a little hiccup, didn't have anywhere to rent proper compressors for our coilovers. So now we have some time on our hands, gotta wait till Monday, tomorrow. We're gonna do a job that we need to do for this project in order to make room for bigger tires. Gotta bump this bumper out 3/4 of an inch, and we have these spacers from Peak that are going to sit behind and push this out. It's going to help maintain the same curvature of the fender to the bumper as well. Just bumped out just enough so no rubbing once we throw more rubber on there. So we'll get started on that. There's 10 of these clips. We're going to go around the top intake right here and remove that first. We also need T15 Torx screw, or Torx bit I should say, to get these 2 Torx screws out and slide the handle out so we can get everything out of the way. Then we're going to remove the grill and bumper. These can be so stubborn sometimes, so just be gentle with them. All right, now that we have everything off the top, now we have to get everything off the front. In order to do that, we have to pop the grill off. Easiest place to start are your corners, guys. So there are a couple clips. You can hear it right there. There's 2 on each headlight. I got ahead of myself. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 10mm bolts up here. We'll remove those first. Now that that's out, there are clips on top of the grill that sit in an indented hole. So let's use this, get this out. You can feel it loosen whenever you do that. And the clips are on the outside too. I just checked the middle just in case. It's not the same as my old Trail Boss. Then we're going to have various clips on the front end here. I believe 1, 2, 3, top, middle, and bottom on the outside, and then 2 towards the middle on the middle of the grill. All right, now I can show you all these clips here. We're disconnected, however, we are still connected via all of our wiring to the lights that are in the grill here. So one here, one on the near side over there, and then we have this guy here. Let's see the best way to disconnect him. Now we're going to just bungee this up out of the way. I had some difficulty getting the lights undone. As long as this is up and out of the way, we'll be able to get the bumper off. That's all that matters. So yeah, you could do the long way, disconnect your lights, and then reconnect it on the back end. I am just bungeeing to these brackets here. And yeah, it'll just keep my grill up out of the way. Might actually go a little bit more. Yeah, because then we have plenty of room underneath here. I'll fix this side. Plenty of room under there to do what we need to. Now that we're ready to get the bumper off, we're going to go inside each wheel well to release a couple bolts, remove the bumper, we'll set it aside, and put our brackets in. Have a lot more working room on this side because the tire's obviously off, but then we can start with our bolts, getting these all undone. All right, now there are 2 bolts here that we need to remove. So looking directly under the skid plate here at the bottom of the bumper, we're using a 15mm socket for these. I am going to remove my skid plate here just for better visibility, and it may allow me to get to other areas much easier. I'm going to loosen this and it's going to rain sand all over me. Sweet. If there's one bolt on either side here, 15mm. I'll show you on that side. It'll be a lot easier for you. All right, you're gonna have to do this one by hand. To pull the bumper off. I will show you what else I disconnected here, and I'm just going to set this over here out of the way. This is where you connect all your power from your fog lights. It's run to the passenger side fog light, and then inside the bumper to the driver's side fog light. Coming over here, showing you where those last 2 bolts were. A little easier now that everything's disassembled here. Now we're going to remove 6 bolts, 3 on either side, put our brackets in, and be good to go. Now your bracket is going to sit right on this lip right here. And this will go right over it. Then you just got to align your holes. All right, just to show you, this is where the fog lights plug in from the bumper on the passenger side. So there is a little plastic piece, fastener, I should say, that fastens into the frame. Yeah, you might have to, or you will have to pull that out as well. So unplug the lights, the power, and then take that out, and then you can pull your bumper away. Now that the bumper spacers are on, we are good to put the bumper back into place. Make sure you're properly lined up. I will fasten that light on first. Light fixture. Actually, easy way of doing this will be put one bolt in just to make sure nothing falls, which we have here. Piece right here. I'm going to push back in this little hole over here, and it secures it in place. Start with the bottom, making sure everything's lined up. The wires are pinched and they're all out of the way. Once you see that, you can just push them into place. You should hear it click into place as well. Then go middle. Headlights. Just gotta make sure those yellow clips are aimed down inside where they need to go. Now that that's done, we're good for the 4mm bolts, which I'll get tomorrow. So we left off yesterday with putting everything back together just so we could close the hood. Now we just got to put the clips back in. So make sure your holes all align, pop them into place. Pretty simple. Of course, some of them may have closed on you. Cool, that's it. So we're done under the hood. Bumper is now moved forward. You could actually see tiniest little gap here, which is strange looking at, but it's not very noticeable from far away. Can't even tell, so that adds room for something bigger later. All right, guys, this is technically day 3 working on this project. We've run into a few snags. Yesterday on day 2, we didn't have the proper tools, and neither did AutoZone, O'Reilly's, to actually compress an assembled coilover kit. So I took it into our friend Negretti's shop this morning, got those adjusted, basically lowered the collar down an inch to add 2.5 inches to the peak suspension. And also we've had multiple just tie-ups as far as getting things apart, such as the tie rod assembly, which is what we're going to start with today. We're going to add the tie rod sleeve from peak to our actual tie rod assembly. So one of the things, obviously, you got to break it free and get it loose. 5/16 wrench to adjust and loosen, I should say, the tie rod itself. So what you want to do here is you want to count the number of rotations counterclockwise, because your alignment's going to be off regardless once you install this product. But just to keep a rough idea of where the sleeve should sit on the assembly, that way the tie rod itself can be pretty equal to or close to where it was prior to installation. So we'll get started on that. I am going to actually mark this as well. That way I can visually see and count the number of rotations. So let me grab a marker. All right, so I just have a red permanent marker here. I'm gonna go behind the bolt and color in a little bit of the threading to show where that sits. All right, now we're gonna count the rotations of the tie rod itself. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 24 total rotations. And our sleeve is going to basically replace this bolt. I can see my mark right there. Next, we are going to put some thread lock, which is provided by Peak, on there. Going to put the thread lock on the inside here. It is going to go on this way first. So it's going to slide on and thread it into place. Now that we have it here, I'm just going to tighten it a little bit with my wrench. Still by hand, so almost right at my mark here. You can see the beginning. Get a little quarter turn. It should be good. There we go. All right. Now that that's in place, we should be good to go. I'm gonna keep this tie rod disconnected while we install our coilover and get everything pieced back together on the driver's side. All right, now we're ready to start assembling our shock, or installing our shock, I should say. Take that one off after I get it. I just want to get thread lock on these. I'm just going to go hand tight with these. I'm not going to singe anything down yet because getting the bottom lined up is extremely important before you start torquing everything down. All right, now we're going to line up the bottom. Best way to do this is take a screwdriver, just put it through and make sure everything's aligned on both sides as far as the bottom of the shock to the lower control arm. Should be good. I'm leaving that screwdriver in. And again, just trying to get everything aligned. It's critical. If it doesn't go in smoothly, don't fight it. You want to be able to tighten it by hand as much as possible first. Now that all the threads are all the way through, now it's safe to go through and tighten them down with the socket. All right, and we're going to torque those to spec. A little bit more than, there we go, cool. All right, 17 millimeter wrench here, and we're just gonna tighten our our shock at the top of the tower. We're going to torque the top of the tower. So I might need to go in through the top of the engine bay. Might need to. Alright, now we're going to install our joint for our upper control arm. Everything comes assembled just like this. Basically all we're going to do is remove the 22mm socket and washer and the base. So all that we're using is that right here. Slides in right through the top. And then we're going to line everything up. From the bottom, we're going to put that in, and then the washer and the bolt will go through the actual arm here. Like a hair off. There we go. There we go. Cool. Got it. A little bit more. One more. Good. Now I'm putting some thread locker on. Putting the washer on first, and then the bolt. Top is 15, bottom is 22. And torque to spec, let's see. Sweet. Whew. Probably my face is on this video. Now I'm going to reconnect my sway bar. Put that into place. It's 18mm socket. So first, just thread it on by hand. Actually, before we do that, I'm going to put some thread locker on. Now I'll thread it on by hand. Then you're going to take your 18mm socket and a 9mm socket just to hold it still while you bolt it into place. A lot of people don't think of it, but you just gotta put a socket on the end. Voila! Now we're gonna reconnect our tie rod. So just position it into place. Since we don't have a 21mm socket, this is all going to be manual, which sucks until we get it tight enough, and then we can torque it down. Nice. There we go. Let me torque that down. No? Oh. I was going to say, it's a deep socket. And a quarter turn. Cool. That's good. Now we are ready to mount our cooling reservoir. So I will pull that out of the way for now. I'll show you where everything goes here in a second. So Peak provides for the mount for the cooling reservoir a screw and a receiver here. So we're going to get up underneath here. There's a triangular hole. It's actually easier whenever you have more dexterity. So take off my glove for this. We're going to just pop this towards the circle here. And just make sure everything lines up first. Get it where you need it. There we go. And you'll feel it kind of pop into place where it needs to be. I'm going to feed the screw through just like so up into that receiver. Now that that's secure, next is the tap bolt provided as well. And I'm going to go through the rear hole of that mount. 10mm here for this. You might need to move your skid plate, but I should just be fine right here. Cool. Right, now we're going to mount the reservoir and the bracket we just put in. Need an Allen key to get these out. Open up like that. Put your reservoir in. Got to make sure you can see the label. I'm putting this silver side of the mount, or the reservoir, I'm sorry, directly flush up against this first arm. Before you tighten it down all the way, make sure it's where you want it. Now, as you see here, we have a black knob and a blue knob. We can adjust our ride sensitivity settings for both slow and fast. Obviously, this can be through trial and error. Right now, the way I have these set, I spun them all the way to the left as far as they will allow. And then I went 3 clicks on each, the black and the blue. Whether that's right or wrong, we'll find out. I'm gonna adjust it as I ride it and test things out. Get in the comments below. Let me know what you think the best setting for your peak suspension is, and I will try it out and see how it goes. So other than that, all I did here to get back in this area is I peeled back the wheel well liner, as you see, also to help you guys see what I was doing in this area. Right now there's an arm here. We're going to reconnect our cables. There's an arm here that is bent down for the previous upper control arm. I'm just going to straighten that out just with a pair of needle nose pliers. Once that's straightened out, you don't need those anymore. You're going to take a zip tie and you're going to slide it down through the hole here, and then 10 mil socket to secure the rest of our bolts. Just go hand tight. These will strip easily, so be careful not to overdo them. Stay on this side over here. All right, we're ready to throw the tire back on. Well guys, that's a wrap for today's video. Unfortunately, I could not finish up the rear suspension. I didn't have the leverage in the wiggle room while laying on my back. So this truck, yes, it could be done given more time. However, it is 10:51 and we have to be at the tire shop to get in some new shoes on the truck here. We're gonna wrap this up now. We'll finish up the rear suspension another time. I'll make sure I put that in a video. The kit that we were supposed to install was the full Peak Summit kit, Peak Suspension Summit kit. The kit with the rear blocks is the Summit kit. So basically the front and rear suspension plus the inch bigger rear block on each side of the rear. Without that, there's also the option of the Trek kit, which is basically the front and rear suspension without the rear block. So you have some options, some wiggle room. You have different setups that you can mess with and go from there. But definitely something that I will finish up here in the future for you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it. this project did take a couple of days. I think this was our third or fourth shoot. Reason being is there was just different, I guess, misunderstandings, miscommunications as far as the setting for where the collar needs to be on the suspension. 17 threads should be showing. It should be the collar, the blue collar should be 1 inch down in total. I accidentally had it adjusted to 2 inches down. We had to correct that, but the holidays came and went, and nobody's working over the holidays, as they shouldn't be. They should be spending time with their families. So I had to wait for that. So that kind of delayed us a little bit on the install, as well as what else we get caught up on. Just having the right tools. So definitely make sure you guys have the right tools going into it, like any project. Obviously that's common sense, but just learn as you go with me. That's how I did. Watching other YouTubers or other instructional videos, and learning before you make any mistakes is huge. So we got everything on the front installed, as you see. Couldn't be happier with how it all looks, and I can't wait to have the whole project finish up here to reveal to you guys soon. Hope you guys liked this video. If you did, make sure you subscribe, make sure you like, and we'll see you guys next time. Take care.